Welcome to the Crystal Self-Healer Podcast. I'm Carissa Weaver. On this podcast, we blend the magic of crystals with the science of psychology to help you break free from chaos, ditch the overwhelm, and master your emotions so you can have more energy, get more done, and feel better every day. Get ready to unlock your intuition and restore your true power as we cover how you can transform your life using crystals and self-awareness. Are you ready to get started? All right, let's go. Have you ever noticed that a lot of people are emotionally triggered when it comes to their morals, ethics, and values? That when push comes to shove, there is something other than rationality applied to how they want the world to behave or the rules to be created and applied. Let's face it, we know that when we're under stress or pressure, it's harder to make rational decisions. But what if that stress state is your everyday experience and you aren't consciously aware of the manipulation you are actively perpetuating? What if this conflict seems so normal that you can't see the forest for the trees? In this episode, we're going to explore how external pressures and expectations keep you lost. You'll learn how to break free from emotional control so you can reclaim your inner peace and autonomy. The other day, I was scrolling my guilty pleasure TikTok, and an account I follow was talking about the birth rate crisis. The position they were taking was that public policy supporting women and children clearly doesn't fix the problem because Norway is still experiencing a decrease in births. Don't worry, this episode isn't a deep dive into the birth rate crisis, but it is the jumping off point, so stick with me. I'm someone who remembers that a few years ago, maybe a couple decades, there was a lot of talk about the problems that come with overpopulation. Attention was drawn to all the starving happening around the world because the global population was growing at a rate faster than was thought could be managed. What was learned after this crisis faded was that it wasn't a food shortage crisis, but that current methods of farming and food distribution weren't set up to effectively address the demands it was facing. So the cynical part of me, hearing this new crisis du jour, began thinking about how and where the narratives come from, and whether we should actually be allowing them to infiltrate into our daily lives. So I'm going to make this short and sweet and get to my point. Guilt, shame, and fear have long been the tools of manipulation, used to coerce people into submission or compliance with agendas and rules. Politics and religion are not exempt. In fact, they often lead the way. The narratives, whether it's overpopulation or not enough babies, all are based in some alternate reason, usually politically or religiously based, or with money and profits in mind. So the card inspiration today is the Six of Swords in the situation position from a recent crystal and tarot forecast inside the Charmed community. In this position, the card is challenging you to leave conflict behind and move toward smoother waters. When looking at this card, you see 3 people on a boat, 2 of them huddled together, 1 under their shawl, with 6 swords in front of them, planted firmly in the hull of the boat. You can infer from the image that the intention of these travelers is to move toward the calmer waters and the distant shores. But in order to do that, they need to face and address the thoughts they have that stand in the way. So when this card shows up as the situation or circumstance, you're being called to face the thoughts that create your misery and perpetuate the conflict. Each one of us lives with a constant sense of crisis designed to keep people emotionally reactive and spiritually disoriented. Logic, fear, control, morality, tradition, and dogma are systematically used to reinforce this structure. And the Six of Swords is suggesting this is what needs to be dismantled. In order to reach the calm waters, you must look at the swords in your boat, each one representing a belief, a narrative, or a few you've accepted without question. I do want to point out that you will encounter people who push these narratives with conviction. They truly believe in what is being said because they have never questioned where their beliefs come from. This includes anyone who doesn't objectively explore how and why they think and believe the way they do, just taking everything at face value and carrying that torch no matter what. This doesn't leave any one of us out here. We've all internalized unexamined beliefs. And chances are there are probably some of these beliefs that create confusion or conflict within some other ideologies and tenets you attempt to live by. It's these feelings of conflict that make you reactive and defensive. It's this triggering of your emotions by the efforts of others that makes you feel controlled, because no matter how much you tell someone you want them to do something different, they get to exercise free will and choose whether they will comply with your request or not. To break free from emotional control, your job is to see narratives, understand how they trigger you, and reclaim your sovereignty by choosing which thoughts to believe and which to release as not yours to carry. The work is in revealing where you're supporting or feeding a narrative that is counter to your own soul's blueprint. The carrying out of your divine rights and the universal spiritual laws, where narratives are being cloaked in moral urgency such as protecting the family, the nation, and the future, or righteous fear like the urgency to act now or society will collapse, or the spiritual distortion that each soul wants to be born, and who are we to deny them? When you are trauma bonded to authority, believing your safety comes from obedience, or conditioned to outsource your moral compass to a higher, more superior person, or desperate for meaning or certainty in a chaotic world, all someone needs to do is activate enough emotion in the collective for them to take root, like the crisis du jour. Understand that the rules we live by are justifications for actions meant to make us feel better at a specific point in time. And by evaluating the deep, clear truth of them, will reveal where and how to break free from emotional control. You can't unsee what you allow yourself to see. And when you do, you'll see that the birth rate crisis isn't really about families or true spiritual faith. It's about control, population engineering, and sustaining systems of power. And this control is being sold with the appearance of spiritual truth while bypassing spiritual law. So if we are to look at this crisis du jour, the birth rate crisis, what is not being acknowledged in all the ways groups and governments are attempting to coerce women into bearing children is the law of divine timing. This includes anyone espousing it must be God's plan. Not all things get to be born into this world. That includes plants, animals, people, and brilliant ideas. All parts of life are sacred, and that includes death, loss, and grief. Divine timing doesn't operate outside of or without the law of free will. So when someone chooses a different path, it doesn't mean they are defying the divine. It means they are exercising sacred agency in alignment with their truth, capacity, or calling. For them, that is their divine timing, the perfect alignment with their spiritual integrity, not against it. I'm going to offer fluorite as a supportive crystal as you break free from emotional control, and here's why. When you're constantly exposed to the external narratives laced with fear, morality, and urgency, it becomes difficult to think clearly or distinguish your truth from the noise. Fluorite helps you clear the mental fog created by conflicting messages and brings your awareness back to your own inner guidance system. The Six of Swords asks you to face and sift through the thoughts that cause your conflict. Fluorite supports you in separating fact from feeling, emotion from manipulation, and fear from wisdom. Fluorite empowers you to pause, ground yourself, and question what you're being told with curiosity instead of reactivity. When confronting societal conditioning, fluorite can help you recognize when others are projecting their values or beliefs onto you in ways that feel invasive or coercive. Working with fluorite can bring you a sense of spiritual sovereignty, helping you remember your truth doesn't need to be validated by external authority to be sacred. Fluorite also reminds you that clarity comes in layers. It supports you in unraveling the threads of emotional control until all that remains is your own voice, rooted in clarity and spiritual integrity. So here's a little ritual you can do to discern where emotional control is coming from in your life. You'll need 4 fluorite crystals, a clear quartz point or tower, and a compass. Find a space where you can spend some time with intention and build a crystal grid that won't be disturbed. Begin by anchoring in with 3 cleansing breaths, in through the nose and out through the mouth. When you feel settled, start by placing your clear quartz in the center of your grid. Using your compass, locate each of the cardinal points, north, east, south, and west. Place one of the fluorite crystals in each of these locations, holding the intention it will support you in the following ways. North reveals where emotional control is tied to survival fears or inherited beliefs. East illuminates thought patterns and societal messaging that shape how you think. South brings awareness to emotional reactivity and where control is masked as passion or urgency. West reveals the emotional imprints and wounds that keep you bound to others' expectations. After you've placed all the fluorite crystals in their places, activate the crystal grid using a quartz point or any other activation practice you prefer. Sit with your grid and journal about your observations or any clarity you gain. Today's pairing of the Six of Swords with fluorite is from a recent crystal and tarot forecast inside the Charmed community. I invite you to join me in this free space where I share these readings weekly to help you align your energy and focus your week. You'll also get the opportunity to connect with others who are exploring their growth and creating change in their lives just like you. Join us for free. The link is in the show notes. And if you're tired of being on an emotional roller coaster, constantly juggling everything in your life, and you want to be part of a space that holds you in your healing, a space where you can feel seen, supported, and connected, I'd love to have you join me inside the Crystal Self-Healer Members Portal. It's where we go beyond the weekly guidance and we apply it to your life, equipping you with tools, resources, and support to build your confidence in crystal healing and emotional self-care. Inside, you'll find personalized coaching, healing sessions, rituals, and everything you need to truly empower yourself to live with more ease and alignment. Visit my website, 3charmedgems.com, or click the link in the show notes to learn more and join me. It's time to stop living at the mercy of emotional triggers and start living in spiritual integrity. The Crystal Self-Healer Portal is where that shift begins. Come find your clarity. Today's episode has been brought to you by the Six of Swords, fluorite, and divine timing. May we all see through emotional control so we can honor the beautiful unfolding of our lives. Blessed be, my friends. All right, my friends, that wraps up this week's episode. Thank you for joining me here today on the Crystal Self-Healer podcast. If you haven't already, hit subscribe, leave a review, and take the What Crystal is Best for You quiz linked in the show notes. Join me again next week as we continue to demystify crystals, how your brain works, and how you can use them so you can have more energy, get more done, and feel better every day.